What's up with your YouTube world? Welcome to another version, I guess, or episode of Therapist Talks. Today we're going to top off of narrative therapy. We just did a video about narrative therapy, creating your own narrative. Today, which is just a little bit later than my other post, is narrative therapy deconstruction. This is when you destruct the story that you're telling yourself. The mental model is always, kind of going down a negative trail that you've created. And it's kind of, your thoughts take the path of least resistance. So people with anxiety understand what I'm talking about. Your mind automatically shoots off down this negative trail, right? And then you start to spiral downward. You start to get anxious. You start to have a racing heart, clamminess, a fog. You get, dizzy. Sometimes you get nauseous. You get an anxious distress. So this is a way to deconstruct your narrative, deconstruct your story that you always tell yourself, which probably is automatically negative. So we'll start off with another technique used in narrative therapy is deconstruction. When you overthink, here comes the sensation is often one of overwhelm. There's a million things going on in your head at a time, 1,000 miles an hour, and you don't even know where to start with any of it. If this makes sense to you, if this resonates with you, hit the like button, comment, subscribe, ask a question. I'm here to help, right? If you're feeling lost in rumination, you can use storage to help you break down and deconstruct the big scary problem and the smaller ones, right? So as you place these things in different storage compartments of your mind, they're by different stories, right? You have different stories going on. Like separate one story from the other. That's the best way to kind of do it down. Then break it into smaller pieces and kind of work with it. That's hard to do without writing them down, though. A story is a way to organize, to slow things down, and to remind you that you're in control when it comes to where and how you place your attention on these thoughts and on these stories. You cannot look at everything all at once. Trying to do so is going to make you feel powerless in the face of all these so many overwhelming thoughts. But as any good story, you don't have to figure everything out at once or immediately or solve all problems in one time period. Some ways to bring deconstruction into your own life is if things are feeling disastrous, just stop and force yourself to focus on a single thought that's the most important right now for you to deal with. If you're catastrophizing about how these things may happen tomorrow or next year, set them things aside and look at what matters today and today only at this very moment. Ask yourself, what single next step can I take? Don't worry about the next 20 steps. Just take the next step you need to, and you can go from there step by step, right? And that's breaking things down in smaller pieces, right? You want to get things broke down into smaller pieces. If not, it's going to be overwhelming. It's going to seem too big to accomplish. And that's where the anxiety, the anxiousness, the anxious distress comes in. The panic disorder starts to happen. The sweat and clamminess, right? Things are starting to break down. It's getting out of control. Your thoughts are foggy. It's starting to be entangled. You want to control some of that by breaking things down in smaller pieces. You can also break down events. You can also break down events into single episodes, right? Like put a few events into a box, right? And just deal with those things this week, right? Write those down and only deal with those things. Don't deal with no other thoughts. Let it go. Tell your mind like, nope, I'm not. Right now is not. If you think of other thoughts, you tell your brain, no, not right now is the time to think of these thoughts. I'm only working on this episode, right? Let me see. And so you want to look for themes, patterns, and a thread that links them all together. See how the present moment ties into the past. Then ask yourself, what can you do to take charge of your own narrative? Anxiety and overthinking have a way of fracturing our attention and creating chaos, confusion when we start to deconstruct these thoughts. However, we see that many of them are just noise, and we don't necessarily even have to entertain them. Maybe you're primarily concerned about your health, and off of that single worry branches a million other thoughts like losing your job, well, what if I die, expensive medical bills, etc. Deconstructing these means asking, what is this thought really about, right? And distinguishing thoughts that derail and detract from those are where you can actually make meaningful changes. First thing you need to do is remember a mantra called the 4 A's of stress management. That's avoid, alter, accept, and adapt. Avoid some thoughts. You don't need to have them right now, right? Alter the thoughts, reframe them. If you look at my last video called Narrative Therapy, you'll be able to see what that reframing is talking about as far as altering. Accept it. Accept that you have these thoughts, and that's okay. Or accept the situation, that's okay. Speaking of accept, you guys can look up ACT, acceptance, commitment therapy, really good for folks with anxiety. And adapt to the thought. Okay, so let's say you got to move. Okay, then you have to move. Some people are like, well, what if I got to change my job? What if I got break these things down into smaller pieces? Okay, if you got to change your job, just start looking now, right? Like, just break it down. It's not the end of the world that you're going to have to switch jobs, right? It's just being mindful of these things. Another popular technique is thought mapping, right? You can do that by writing down your thoughts. When we overthink, we have tons of thoughts swirling around in our own mind, which can feel overwhelming. However, when we write these thoughts down systematically, we can analyze them and evaluate whether these thoughts are even merited at all, right? To build a habit, you can carry a pocket journal with you from the dollar store and write down whenever you feel like it's necessary. You can later cross these out, examine them, reframe them with the proper direction of a positive avenue instead of automatic negative thought. And with that, if this video has done anything to help you or even gave you the mindset to think about how you can fix this or soothe your mind that you're not the only one going through this and there's thousands of people going through this, you just have to learn the popular techniques of stress management to be able to get with this. But you can have hope, you can have healing, and I hope I brought some of that today. Big Mike, mental health professional with Therapist Talks, and I'm out.